I used to have nothing. And then I got this job. This family. But nothing lasts forever.
I heard you had to leave in a hurry.
It's never easy these days.
So what are you going to do?
I've lived a lot of lives, but I'm done running from my past.
I know you're out there.
I know you know I'm out here. So we're gonna talk like grown-ups?
Is that what we are?
It's good to see you too, sis.
What brings you home?
We have unfinished business. We have to go back to where it all started.
Lucky us.
One thing's for sure. It's gonna be a hell of a reunion.
Still fits. Family. Back together again.
You got fat.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Happy late night video. They posted this at midnight, so I'm making this super late, but all kinds of Easter eggs in this. This is a longer version of the footage that they showed off at D23, so we'll break it down. We're doing a giveaway for that giant Infinity Saga box set with all the Marvel movies. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite moment from the trailer on the video. I know you have all kinds of questions about what's going on with Sheriff Hopper, dressed like the Russian Captain America. He's playing Red Guardian. He literally is the Russian version of Captain America. During the Cold War, through espionage, the Russians tried to steal a version of the super soldier serum and then adapt it for their own program. He is the product of that. All kinds of questions about Thunderbolt Ross and possible Thunderbolts set up in future movies or future TV shows, with the new version of Black Widow, Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh. So at the beginning of the trailer, they start with her voiceover, cut with shots of Budapest. That's right, we're going to Budapest finally. That's the Freedom Monument, just to let you know that you are in Budapest when this is happening in the present day of the movie, which is taking place in the past. What's this? We just did all this time travel during Avengers Endgame. The voiceover dialogue that she has at the beginning of this is literally taken from her Endgame dialogue. First I had nothing, then I had this family. During that movie, she was referring to the Avengers as her family, but in this movie taking place during the past, you meet her old family that she used to be with when she was still part of the Black Widow program. And this trailer is crawling with a bunch of Black Widows. When she's staring into the mirror here in this bathroom, this is probably right after she's gone on the run, right after Captain America Civil War. Like in the beginning of the trailer, Thunderbolt Ross has that voiceover dialogue where he's talking to her saying, "I heard you had to leave in a hurry. Where are you going?" And she talks about not running from her past anymore. I've done this many times before. She's thumbing through all the different IDs. All this present day stuff with her in Budapest and these scenes with her with the Yelena Belova version of Black Widow, that's taking place right after Captain America Civil War, before Avengers Infinity War. She's on the run for a couple different reasons, one of them being that she's a fugitive and they actually want to arrest her on sight if she's spotted by the Americans, but the Black Widow program in the Red Room also probably want to get rid of her too because she's trying to bring that down. You kind of get a sense for the narrative in this. She's trying to save her sisters, her family, by getting rid of the Red Room. She's tired of running from her past literally running to chase her down through the Red Room soldiers here. This is just part of that flashback and the nightmare that she got from Scarlet Witch during Avengers Age of Ultron. This is her origin story when she was going through the Red Room program. You can kind of chart how old she is just based on the haircut that she has. Then as she continues that voiceover dialogue from Avengers Endgame, they flash to the first Avengers movie with the short haircut, her talking to Hawkeye. They reference Budapest during that movie. Obviously, you see several shots of Budapest and her running around in Budapest during the trailer. Big theory that Hawkeye is going to show up during the movie at some point, and we see Taskmaster using a very large bow, which makes you think instantly of Hawkeye. Not that Hawkeye is Taskmaster. Then there's a whole bunch of Winter Soldier footage. The soundtrack during this with the big music drops with that screeching sound sounds like it's right out of Winter Soldier, so the soundtrack will probably be a little bit like Winter Soldier's soundtrack. The Nothing Lasts Forever line is also just a reference to the idea that she's still dead in present day. Scarlett Johansson has been very clear that her version of Natasha Black Widow is dead after Avengers Endgame. This is all taking place during the past, even though there might be a time jump in a post-credit scene in present day with another version of Black Widow like Yelena Belova. Most of these trailer scenes only take place in a couple different areas. One is Budapest, the other is Siberia, where the actual Red Room program is, where you see her trying to blow everything up, then the separate location nearby where they're at that cabin having that family moment together. Fun fact too, I know everybody's wondering if Winter Soldier is going to have a cameo during this. Winter Soldier was actually controlled by Hydra people, and Hydra was not running the Red Room, so even though both of them were working within the Soviet Union in Russia, technically they're on slightly different teams. All this footage here is just connected to this other shot here from later in the trailer. They kind of break it up where you see her in her old uniform pre-Avengers with the special gauntlets. It's more of a comic booky Black Widow looking suit. This just seems like this version of Thunderbolt Ross, who actually seems like he's got that crazy de-aging technology that they did for Ant-Man and the Wasp too. William Hurt doesn't look that old in present day, so I don't know why they're de-aging him this much, but maybe this is just meant to be before she joined the Avengers, so it's early 2000s era. Once she finishes her conversation with Thunderbolt Ross about not running from her past anymore, living a lot of different lives, she seeks out Yelena Belova, also in Budapest, in this building, walking up the staircase. All this footage is from the D23 trailer they showed off, with her walking down the hallway with her gun pointed, them having that funny gunslinger standoff moment, and because they both came up in the Red Room program, they know all the same moves as each other. They're so evenly matched that they eventually just have to give up and just treat each other like actual sisters. Although sisters do fight a lot, that's kind of the joke of this scene here, is that they treat each other like real sisters. If you're not a big Black Widow comic book reader, Yelena Belova was actually trained to take down Natasha Black Widow and take the mantle from her. So when she debuted in the comics, they were originally enemies, but eventually became friends and started working together with each other. Their story within the MCU is obviously a little bit different, but they always change the comics a little bit for the movies. Their fight scene is great. They have the fight coordinator from John Wick working on this movie, so it's going to feel a lot like John Wick fights, but also they're using the Winter Soldier soundtrack for some of these sound cues. I think they're going to go for a lot of Winter Soldier type action in the movie, just because that movie did hand-to-hand combat so well. They also kind of use the camera in this fight to pan around the room and show you that Yelena Belova also has been on the run too. You see all these plans and these maps, so it sounds like she's having a lot of the same problems as Natasha, and that's why they're slowly coming back together to be this family, to handle the problem as a family. They go on the run together, then you get a lot of scenes with Taskmaster chasing them down through the city. So I think even though it comes later in the trailer, when Taskmaster is in this urban assault vehicle and then has the giant Hawkeye looking bow that he pulls out, that's him chasing after them on the motorcycle. This other Black Widow that's chasing after them that it looks like she's either trying to save from falling might be Melina Vostokov, Rachel Weisz's character, who's also a former Black Widow from the Red Room, but it's kind of blurry, so it could be one of the other Black Widows from present day that it seems like they're also training here with a slightly different looking uniforms. Like the program is still going on in present day, just like Winter Soldier would still be operating out of Siberia in Hydra in present day if they hadn't rescued him. She tells Yelena Belova that we have to go back to where it all started, to where they were trained as Black Widows. This might be a flashback. They just want to imply the way they cut this trailer that this is where the Black Widows get a lot of their orders from. I feel like the trailer makes it pretty clear if you were confused before, but there are many Black Widows. They're all called Black Widows. The reason why we call Natasha Black Widow is just because she's the primary version of the character in the comics. We see her in her white uniform from the comics. She gets a bunch of Black Widow costume changes during this. She usually gets one in each movie, but within this movie, she'll wear a lot of different versions of the ones that she had in the comics. This also seems like it's happening in present day too, just because they're all sitting around this table talking about the good old days. Like, look how fat you got, Russian Captain America. Talking about Taskmaster though, I know people have lots of questions. People are expecting some big twist with his identity because he never takes his helmet off. It's kind of like the Mandalorian, never meant to take his helmet off. In the comics, Taskmaster is a totally different person. I'm hoping that they keep him a different person so that they can use him in different ways in future movies, like a future Thunderbolts project. But he has the ability to learn people's moves on the fly and improvise, so he could fight pretty much anybody. He could fight against Captain America. He fights Russian Captain America during the trailer. They just bum rush each other, so that's going to be a badass fight. talking about David Harbour's character, make all the Stranger Things Season 3 jokes that you want because he disappeared and it was a plot involving Russians. But in this, he's playing Alexei Shostakov, who, like I said, is the Russian version of Captain America. You see him wear his classic uniform, too. They say, it still fits. So clearly, it looks like he's busting out of a Russian prison here of some kind just because of the way he looks. It doesn't seem like he's been kept in a deep freeze like Winter Soldier is when he's not on missions. But it lets you know how strong he is, just seeing him bust through this giant steel door. Even though he gets kind of funny with it and a little silly later in the trailer when he's making all those muscle moves, you see all of his Russian prison tats all over him. If you're not up on crime thrillers or anything like that, Russian tattoos in prisons are a big deal. They're meant to tell the story of your life. So if you're in prison and you don't have tattoos, it's actually really weird. We don't see him use it in the trailer, but he also does have a shield just like Captain America, made to look like the red Russian star. They start talking about family, echoing the things that she said in the future in Avengers Endgame. They said that this movie would be a lot of her clearing the red off of her ledger for good, so that when it came to Avengers Endgame, that's why she was so ready to make that sacrifice. So her death in Avengers Endgame will make more sense after you see the Black Widow movie. When Red Guardian and Taskmaster go at it, this shield here is Taskmaster's shield. It looks a little bit different. There are a whole lot of shields flying around in this movie. This is them literally trying to bring down the Red Room, metaphorically and literally during this movie. Yelena Belova firing off a giant rocket launcher. This giant scene with her in this version of the Black Widow uniform might be happening in the past though. It's kind of hard to chart where some of these big action set pieces are happening. Obviously, this is just a fraction of the footage. There's a lot of scenes of her fighting Taskmaster that they did not put in this, that they showed off at D23, so that might be in the next trailer, but it's basically the scene of Taskmaster driving her car off of this bridge, then they start fighting each other, and you get to see how his abilities work as he mimics her Black Widow fighting style. I'm sure you have a ton of questions about what's going on in present day because the present day Marvel Phase 4 films will take place in 2023, like Spider-Man Far From Home takes place after Avengers Endgame. This is just the first movie that takes place before all that happens, so I know there's a lot of questions about whether or not there's going to be scenes that connect it to present day, maybe through the Yelena Belova Black Widow character. But post all your theories in the comments below. I'll do more Marvel videos this week, so if you have any big bonus videos based on this Black Widow footage you want me to do, just let me know in the comments. Congratulations, Thomas Petch, you're the first Infinity Saga giveaway winner. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. I've got a second one to give away, so I'll leave that giveaway open for a while too. While you wait for everything, click here for my breakdown of the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2 teaser trailer, and click here for my brand new Mandalorian Episode 4 video. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.